the neighbor and yourself are both in conflict with each other because that's the way it is. You both bought across the street from each other. You know, a victim of that choice. Both of you are victims of that choice.
And to make to Mike's point, Ed, businesses, when people come in for special exceptions to have businesses and homes, zoning board can regulate time of operation, you know, so what Mike was trying to say is it's pretty fair when somebody comes in and asks for a commercial entity in a residential section. We do put restrictions on everyone in that sense.
But I thought there was an ordinance in town, you couldn't fire up equipment before 7. I mean, or yeah, before 7.
That's a town-wide ordinance
Right.
already, regardless of.
Mine is 8. I can't fire it before 8. How's that fair? And that's in residential and commercial.
Frank, how long have these hours restrictions been part of this agreement?
Since 2002.
For a number of years. In fact, the hours of operations were for Saturday from 8 to noon time up until either a year or two ago.
Yeah. There was, he was allowed to open once every 6 weeks or so at 7 o'clock in the morning for crushing operations. With that was, a deal was struck that he wouldn't open Saturday until 9. Well, all that got renegotiated last year, I believe it was, and his hours went back to 8 all of the time. So the once a month, 7 o'clock was taken out, and the Saturday went back to 8 o'clock.
So if Ed's there all by himself and he's just walking around the property and he's not doing anything, even if he goes behind the fence, is that a violation?
It's not a violation.
So you can go on your property? That's what I'm
Violation
hearing.
exists at this point, and what we dealt with during the year was that Mr. Dudek has a certain operation that he needs to do, and he chose to do it at 7 o'clock, and that became a problem because it disturbed the neighbor. The neighbor made the appropriate calls. It was found to be credible, and the appropriate action was taken. That's a violation.
But most of the other people in town can start up equipment and do all kinds of things at 7 o'clock in the morning, but I can't. How's that fair? And it's something I was doing once a month. I wasn't really making any noise. And it's just another thing to have over my head for the man across the street. And it's like, I just don't understand it, how this is fair, that everybody else in town can fire up a loader at 7 in the morning, fire up a lawnmower, or their diesel trucks if they're a landscaper, and they can pull up on your house and start mowing your lawn at 7 o'clock in the morning. But I can't do anything on my property at 7 o'clock in the morning?
They would have a problem with me if they started mowing my lawn at 7 in the morning.
But they could.
And they do.
They could do your neighbors at 7 o'clock then.
I you know, I perfectly well understand exactly what you're saying. That's this, on the point of what you're saying, you don't really get any argument from me. Mike, I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, we again, it's not necessarily as black and white as we may think. There is a noise ordinance in town. Individual homeowners can call on the police department to come and deal with those situations, and they do all the time. So it's not anyone can do anything they want at any time of the day or night and have no repercussions. That's not the way a community operates. We do have the ability to ask our officials to have someone stop a noise at a party. It happens all the time. You can ask the acting chief in the back about that. So there are other enforcement things that we do between neighbors and noise and things like that. This is an actual contract between the council and Mr. Dudek as part of his license. It's quite different than that.
Any other questions on the part of the council? Does staff have any recommendation regarding the extension of hours? Or leaving them the same?
Just a general comment is, the more you allow different uses to take place outside of the normal hours, the more difficult it is to enforce the regulations. Currently, the rules are very clear. 8 to 5, Monday through Saturday, the applicant is allowed to transact business and perform junkyard operations only during this time. So again, as Frank said, if Ed's in there balancing his checkbook at 2 in the morning, we don't have a concern. If he's in there on a Sunday morning selling a vehicle, that's transacting business. If he's out in the yard, frankly, you know, how are we to know whether that's junkyard operations or not? So all I'm suggesting from staff's viewpoint is if you liberalize the hours outside, frankly, of our hours in which we're available to check for code compliance, it makes code compliance that much more difficult and that much grayer.
Thank you. Ed, do you have anything else to add?
Just want to be treated like everybody else in town.
So I have a motion and a second for discussion. We've had discussions. Is there anything else on the part of the council?
Are we going to waive the hearing and approve tonight, or are we going to have another reading?
What was the motion?
The motion
The
was
motion, there was no date here, so I just said it.
whenever.
Okay, then there are
Okay.
two ways. It's not part of the motion. The motion could be amended.
We want to amend the motion for approval as well tonight?
Well, as it reads now, we can approve it. It was only if we wanted to put a date on there to
So
have a
we-
second reading.
We'd have to, with approval as the same date, 02/09/09. Do you want to amend the amendment to? I will
I'll-
make a motion and. I'll
Well, you
see
can
what
make an
happens.
a motion to.
I'm making a motion, we adopt the licensing agreement as of 02/09/09.
So you're making a motion to amend
And
my
my-
motion to
Paul's
adopt
motion.
it tonight.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the amendment, which essentially changes it from a first reading to an adoption, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The amendment passes. We are now voting to adopt Order 2009-2.
With current regulations
With
and
current-
everything.
No change,
Leaving the hours as they are.
leaving the hours just as they are. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. You have your license.
Thank you.
Next up is Order 2009-